yet? Probably. I'm sure it's kind of boring listening to me for hours, but they're just little chunks, and hopefully you're learning something. I'm just turning the page now from where we were working on tangent up, and now we're going to work on deciding which one it is. So I'm going to follow kind of what I was doing before and highlight the hypotenuse just to draw attention to it for ourselves, because sometimes it's in a weird spot. All right, and we're just going to go through these problems, and I'll show you how I decide if I'm going to use sine, cosine, or tangent. This entire first set of 4 problems is finding angles. So that's the inverse. You want to make sure if you see the x as an angle that you're using the inverse, not the non-inverse. All right, so I'm going to look at my angle. So x is over here in this corner. This side here would be opposite. This one would be adjacent, and we know this is the hypotenuse. Since our numbers are here, we have one on the adjacent side and one on the hypotenuse. Remember that we use SOH, CAH, TOA. They're like little boxes, sine, cosine, tangent. If we have adjacent and hypotenuse, then we want to use cosine, because cosine contains adjacent and hypotenuse. So I'm going to do cosine x equals 31 over 47. It helps to put those letters on there so you don't get lost. Hopefully, as soon as you see this, it makes you think, hey, I should use the inverse. And you make sure that you're doing the inverse. So I'm going to press second cosine, 31 over 47. 48.7 degrees. All right, so really your calculator is doing most of the work. You just have to know how to set these up. All right, I want you to take a minute and see if you can figure out what this one is. So pause the video, see if you can figure out if it's sine, cosine, or tangent, and then turn it back on to see what we picked. Right, here's the angle. We have the opposite side, and the hypotenuse, the adjacent side, is blank. So if we look up here, opposite and hypotenuse is in sine. So we're going to use sine. Sine x equals 24 over 29. All right, go ahead and finish that and check with mine. $55.9 degrees. All right, pause and do number 21 and 22, and then come back and check with mine. I'm not going to talk through these, but I will kind of model with my hand how I'm figuring them out. So pause and then come back and check 21 and 22. All right, hopefully you got them both right. And if not, you can go back and watch how I kind of went through those to see what mistakes you may have made. The next 4 are about finding sides, so we're going to go through that same thing that we just did. Keep in mind, so katoa helps you remember sine, cosine, and tangent relationships. All right, so I'm going to go and highlight the hypotenuse in all these. Just helps. All right, so for the first one, here's our angle. We're going to look. we have our opposite, our adjacent, and obviously our hypotenuse we have highlighted. Since our actual labels are on opposite and adjacent, we're going to use tangent because tangent is opposite and adjacent. Tangent 38, not an x there this time because the thing next to the trig function is the angle, it's not the side, equals opposite over adjacent. All right, cross multiply. Use your trusty old calculator and just type it in. Not inverse this time because we're talking about sides. All right, so the length of this side is 16.6 whatever unit they're talking about. All right, see if you can figure out what trig function for number 24 and then come back. All right, it's tangent again. I always forget that this worksheet has tons of tangent stuff. It's the opposite and adjacent. Hopefully the other two aren't tangent. That would be annoying. All right, and then cross multiply. So x equals 29 tangent 14. And then you just type in 29 tangent 14. 7.2. So the length of this little side down here is 7.2 units long. All right, do 25 and 26. So pause the video, do them, and then come back and check with mine. All right, I hope that you got all of those correct. That would be awesome. And I guess I'm going to have to come back for one more video. My goodness, this is long, to do the application problems at the end. Bye.